All right, let's dive straight into this explainer. It's actually kind of wild, maybe even a little scary, when you really stop to think about it. Our health is being constantly shaped by two massive, completely unavoidable forces: our environment and our daily nutrition. It's fascinating to consider how everything surrounding us, from the invisible gases we inhale to the actual food on our plates, dictates our biology on a cellular level. We're constantly interacting with the world, and today we're going to look closely at what happens when those interactions go wrong, and more importantly, how we can understand them to protect ourselves. Now look at this number, 12. It's not just a number, it's a staggering reality of the global health divide. While we in developed nations are increasingly grappling with the systemic impacts of overnutrition and obesity, developing countries are facing a mortality rate from environmental factors that is a literal 12 times higher. This gap is largely driven by poor sanitation and severe undernutrition. It really highlights how your geographic environment alone can fundamentally alter your pathological risks. So, to make sense of the whole shebang, we're going to break this down into 5 key areas: the air we breathe, personal pollutants, toxins and trauma, the extremes of nutrition, and we'll wrap up with the pillars of prevention.
Starting right off with Section 1, the air we breathe.
Every single second, we are forced to inhale whatever happens to be floating around in our atmosphere. And air pollution, it's so much more than just the dark smoke or smog you can see. The damage these inhaled pollutants cause to our lungs really comes down to 4 main variables: how long you're exposed, the dose, your body's own innate ability to clear particles, and, this is absolutely crucial, the actual size of the particles. Get this, particles exactly 1 to 5 micrometers in size are the absolute most dangerous. Why? Because they're literally the perfect size to sneak right past our upper defenses, reach our highly sensitive distal airways, the deepest, smallest branches of our lungs, and cause direct, irreversible tissue injury.
And this isn't just some abstract theory either. We've seen the devastating reality of this. Take the 1984 Bhopal gas tragedy, for example. It showed the whole world the lethal, immediate danger of environmental chemicals. We're talking about the release of methyl isocyanate. This wasn't a slow buildup of city smog. It was a sudden, catastrophic atmospheric poisoning that proved exactly how vulnerable our respiratory systems really are to industrial toxins.
Moving on to Section 2, the personal pollutants. So we just talked about the air we're forced to breathe. Now let's look at voluntary exposures, the pollutants we actively choose to invite into our bodies. Worldwide, tobacco is still the single most preventable cause of human death, period. And when you break the data down, you can trace exactly how tobacco's specific constituents drive disease. Things like tar, they're straight-up carcinogens, driving cancerous diseases like lung cancer. Meanwhile, you've got nicotine and carbon monoxide fueling non-cancerous nightmares, drastically bumping up your risk for COPD and basically wreaking havoc on your cardiovascular system to cause coronary heart disease. But here's the really wild part you need to take away from this: 20 years. If a person stops smoking today, right this second, it takes exactly 2 full decades for their mortality risk to finally drop back down to match someone who has never smoked. 20 years. It's a powerful reminder of how deeply these personal pollutants just embed themselves into our biological timeline. Okay, next up is alcohol. Let's actually look under the hood at what happens in the liver and pancreas when we drink. Chronic alcoholism hits almost every organ, but the liver really takes the brunt of it. When ethanol is consumed, your body processes it through specific enzyme pathways. But the real danger, it isn't the ethanol itself, it's what it turns into. Your body converts it into highly toxic acetaldehyde, and this toxic byproduct is the primary culprit driving severe tissue damage, leading to debilitating conditions like alcoholic liver disease and cardiomyopathy. All right, Section 3, toxins, trauma, and radiation. We've covered what we inhale and what we consume, but what about sudden chemical and physical injuries? Here's a bit of a shocker for you. Sometimes the very medical treatments meant to heal us actually become the danger. Up to 5% of patients suffer from what are known as iatrogenic injuries. These are adverse drug reactions or bodily harm caused directly by medical treatments. It's often due to accidental overdoses or weird, unforeseen drug interactions, basically turning the medicine meant to cure a patient into a direct source of harm. Even standard everyday therapeutic drugs can trigger specific organ injuries when adverse reactions happen. A perfect example is something as common as aspirin. We all know it. It's a staple for pain relief and heart health. But in certain doses or in specific patients, it can directly cause severe gastritis, really inflaming the stomach lining. It just shows that absolutely no chemical introduced to the body is entirely without systemic risk. Now, non-therapeutic toxins, they manifest physically in some truly alarming ways. Take lead poisoning. It's a massive environmental hazard, especially for kids who might unknowingly eat flaking lead-based paint. The systemic effects are just profound. We're talking dangerous brain edema, actual swelling of the brain tissue, and it physically marks the body too, leaving dense, visible lead lines that you can actually see growing in their bones and right along their gums. Incredibly scary stuff. Beyond chemicals, physical agents can attack the body in sudden, aggressive bursts. This covers everything from graded thermal burns, first, second, and those severe third-degree burns that totally destroy tissue barriers, all the way to the invisible threat of ionizing radiation. Radiation is particularly sneaky because it can either instantly kill cells outright, or worse, it triggers deep genetic mutations that lie dormant, waiting, before eventually causing malignant, cancerous transformations. Moving into Section 4, the extremes of nutrition. Let's pivot away from external trauma for a second and look right down at the cellular level. What happens when our diet hits dangerous extremes? Nutrition isn't just about feeling energized, it's literally the fundamental building block of our physiology. When it comes to severe undernutrition, protein-energy malnutrition basically has two distinct faces. On one side, we have marasmus. This is a severe general lack of all calories leading to total body wasting. On the other side is kwashiorkor. This is a severe deficiency specifically in protein, even if overall calories are somewhat maintained. And that leads to completely different symptoms, like fluid retention and an enlarged liver. And it's not just about baseline calories and proteins. The absence of tiny, crucial micronutrients directly dictates disease. Vitamins are like essential chemical catalysts for our bodies. For instance, without enough vitamin A, your eyes simply cannot synthesize the necessary pigments, which directly causes night blindness. Similarly, a lack of vitamin D prevents proper calcium absorption. The result? Weakened, malformed bones and a condition known as rickets. And believe it or not, we actually still see rickets today in populations that don't get adequate sunlight exposure. But flip that completely around. On the other end of the spectrum, overnutrition and obesity create their own massive systemic cascade of failure. Consuming far more than the body needs isn't just an issue of weight. It actually creates this constant inflammatory state that drastically spikes the risk for severe chronic conditions. It's a huge primary driver for hypertension, type 2 diabetes, and it even significantly increases your risk of developing certain forms of cancer. And finally, Section 5, the pillars of prevention. Okay, I know we've covered a lot of heavy, alarming ways our habits and environment can harm us today, but the overarching takeaway here absolutely shouldn't be fear. Check out this incredible statistic from the World Health Organization. They estimate that a staggering 80% of heart disease and 40% of all cancers globally are completely preventable. How crazy is that? And how do we do it? By adhering to 3 simple lifestyle changes: completely avoiding tobacco in all its forms, maintaining a nutritionally balanced diet to avoid those extremes we just discussed, and engaging in regular physical activity. I know it sounds almost too simple, but the biological impact is profound. So I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on regarding your own daily choices. Yes, our environment and our nutrition are constantly going to test our biology, but the data clearly shows we are far from helpless. It proves that the first real steps toward a healthier global future and a vastly healthier personal timeline begin right now with you. So out of those 3, which pillar of prevention are you going to strengthen today?